Hey guys, Pixel coming at you from the heavens, and today I am here to talk about Dollmare. So I just recently finished both endings of this game. Now I thought, let's sit down, let's talk about the game a little bit and see what my final thoughts are on it if you guys are considering getting this game. Dollmare is a horror anomaly game that requires you to work several days within the Sweet Cheeks factory. Your job is to sort through the dolls and set them for approval or disposal. Your boss is a shadow man who stays in his office observing your every move. Kay, a very lively doll, becomes your acquaintance to help you escape from the factory. Full of plot twists and creepy baby dolls, this game has a very eye-opening ending, or should I say, endings. Alright, firstly let's talk about some gameplay mechanics. The gameplay mechanics for Dollmare is pretty repetitive and becomes more interesting throughout each day to maintain engagement within the game. An example is day 1 you're just sorting based on physical anomalies. Day 2 they add verbal anomalies, so the babies suddenly have voice boxes that they can talk at you and they can either say something really sweet like, "Sweet cheeks, hello, I love you," or "open the window and fly." And online orders too. I can't remember if this was day 2 or day 3, but they added online orders as well at one point where you're gonna pack up a doll and like ship it off. Day 3 they provide a repair shop so you can repair the broken, well not broken, probably the babies that don't have parts, and this is when I discovered that sometimes they do explode. Day 4 provides an x-ray machine to check inside the dolls because they have random stuff inside them for some reason. And day 5, which is a day 5 with question marks on it, provides a UV light for you to check for any paint anomalies on the dolls. This has not only added another layer of difficulty, but provided more opportunity for differences to make the game more fun and more appealing. There were also parts of the game where they added scenarios such as fixing a generator, conveyor belt, or climbing into the order shaft and then be transported. Overall, I found it was pretty easy to learn, and some being quite difficult to identify and would occasionally be stumbled with an error. Good examples were the extra fingers. Looking back at video editing now, I didn't realize how obvious it was, but sometimes when you're concentrating on so many other things to look at, you often miss it. It was really good to have a game that somewhat challenges you and catches you off guard. Alright, let's talk about the story behind this game. Even though the game is quite progressive, after meeting with Kay, you start understanding the story behind this mysterious Sweet Cheeks factory. There are also some hidden notes that also provide some insights that are also signed by Kay to make the game a bit more memorable when you finally meet him or when he comes on the conveyor belt to meet you. I found that the story was very evenly distributed out across the days, that you learned a bit more each day as you start feeling a bit more suspicious. Even the dolls whispered some crazy things to you, which is kind of funny. The characters are pretty memorable and recognizable throughout the gameplay. The boss has a pretty authoritative voice when speaking and could be recognized to the window by being a shadow of a man. Kay was a hearth with a doll who can speak and interact with you, and was also wearing the same uniform that you pick up at the beginning of the game. There was also Fred and Fred's sister. These are just characters I named. They're the creepy with the dolls that come through. I feel like the story did work really well with the gameplay because you are now seen as the next worker who will follow the same fate as Kay. But you cannot leave, so you just continue working, which I thought worked really well. And it was portrayed really well with especially the second ending where, you know, you kind of piece things together of what you needed to do to get into the your boss's office and figure out what's actually going on here. It's not until the ending where you kind of figure out all the pieces put together what actually happens, and you kind of realize after speaking with Kay that he is telling the truth, that he was the worker before you. Now let's talk about some graphics and art style. Considering I had the game on the lowest graphics so I could actually record it, the quality was still really good. There were some occasional moments where it looked like the babies had balding issues, like they're a man who's been stuck in a stressful office job for way too many years. And all the designs suit the fact that it is in a factory setting, and the creepy doll aesthetics really added to the horror side of things. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to not have any issues with bugs or jankiness or crashes. Now let's talk about sound design and music. There were many sound effects, not really much music happening in the game, such as sudden movements of the dolls or the eerie sounds when something was nearby really added to the horror atmosphere within the game. There was also a really nice touch to make certain areas echoey to audibly create an atmospheric difference between different rooms. So a good example was in the big shed area where you did do all the sorting. It was quite echoey in there, but when you moved into like the locker room or the repair shop, it was slightly less echoey. The voice acting was also really good. The creepy doll sounds and speech, Kay and the boss were the only people who really had some voices within the game. You hear the babies whispering to you. That was a really cool touch. Adding voice actors is always a really nice touch to games, especially like these. So let's talk about the level design. I say level design with like the world building because it wasn't really levels, it was days that you had to progress to get to the end. But each day it was slightly more challenging, so I think it was kind of like a level aspect, but it kind of was seen as days to make things kind of more difficult. The progression was steady, with each level having different challenges interrupting the inspection process. They were also pretty sequential with navigation and based over some of the events of also room changes. An example is when I had to fix a conveyor belt. The room was huge and I had to zigzag my way through all around these dolls. But when I finally fixed the conveyor belt and I turned around, the room like shrunk to a quarter of its original size, which I was so confused, and that was a really cool touch. With performance, I had no issues. I did find that I had to put it on the lowest setting for my PC to be able to run it while recording. I did not find any accessibility options within the settings. However, I did find having the game on the highest brightness helped with my motion sickness, and there was not much head bobbing happening with the character, so it did help a lot with the motion sickness side of things. I did have more of a comfortable experience playing this game than most other first-person games, so that's really nice. So let's touch on replayability and content. I had to replay the entire game again in order to get the second ending, which kind of sucks. I wish that there was an option for, you know, you can choose what day, you know, you can go back to try and make that difference, if that makes sense. The only reason why I replayed was just purely to get that second ending. I can see other people wanting to replay it just for the anomaly aspect to it, but there isn't much drawing me back other than just probably for a speed run in the future or something along the lines of that. The game was $6.49 in Australian dollars, and I feel like it was a really fair price for what you do get. It would be really cool though if eventually the game had some DLC in the future. Overall, I really love the game, and I found having randomized events such as the doll anomalies and doll events really contributed to the uniqueness of each play. Personally, it was not overall a scary game. It will probably rate it out of 5 out of 10 on the scare factor. There were moments, some jump scares that got me real good though. However, I did really enjoy the differences of anomalies as they kept the game interesting. It was very rare to come across the same doll or the same anomaly. Can we just talk about the doll's clothes and outfits and hairs? Some of them were so cute and I died, especially the kid with the mohawk. I was like, ah! I already had some idea and had some expectations of the game before I played it because I have wandered into people's streams who have been playing it, and all I saw really was the anomaly part. So I just gathered that was the game. You just go in and you sort through these dolls, you have some creepy things happening around you, and that's it. I didn't actually realise there was a whole storyline behind it. It was actually a very rich story from what I was expecting, so kudos to them. The different events that came across as well really broke up the anomaly aspect, because sometimes when you're sitting there looking at anomalies over and over and over again, it can get quite boring. Overall, I feel this game was really good, and I wish that it got more recognition than it does. However, I wonder if there will be a second game or a mode where you can just sort through the dolls, because I feel like that'll be a fun one to do while streaming. So I feel like this game is a relatively chill horror game. It is certainly horror themed, but I wouldn't very much say it's a full-on horror game. So for people who are looking for something to stream horror-wise that's not too intense to take you away from your chat, this game is probably for you. Would I recommend this? Yeah, I would, because it is a good game, and especially for those who want to start exploring the horror waters, this is kind of a very good first step into the horror world before you get straight into like Outlast kind of side of things, because oh my goodness. This game I would rate 7 out of 8 pizza slices, purely because it was a very well developed game story-wise, and the way it was built, I had no glitching or crashes or any issues along that side of things, so that's a really good thing. So it means it was very well developed. However, I would like to see a bit more come to it in the future, if not something similar from the same developers. Let me know what your thoughts of the game are down below, whether or not you have seen my gameplay. Yeah, so if you guys like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you liked it that much, make sure you subscribe. And while you're at the subscribe button, make sure you tick on the notification bell. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Pizza Lord signing off.